Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching for more details. Big Brother's Davina McCall reveals breast cancer diagnosis after finding lump. Davina McCall had never been the type to let fear linger in the corners of her life. For decades, she had stepped confidently into the glare of studio lights, mastered the chaos of live television, and held the hands of nervous contestants as they faced the roar of the Big Brother crowd. She had weathered reinvention after reinvention with a smile sharp enough to slice through doubt. But none of that confidence stopped her hand from trembling ever so slightly the morning she found the lump. It was early, before sunrise, when Davina's alarm chimed its gentle melody. She was a creature of habit, built from equal parts discipline and caffeine. But as she stretched beneath the duvet, her fingers brushed against something unfamiliar on the left side of her chest. Firm. Unmoving. Wrong. For a moment, she froze. Her mind tried to negotiate. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's hormonal. Maybe it'll disappear. But fear, the kind she spent a lifetime refusing to acknowledge, came in a slow, suffocating wave. By mid-morning, she had an appointment booked. The waiting room was quiet, far too quiet for someone who spent much of her life surrounded by clapping audiences and booming narrators. She sat with her coat still wrapped around her shoulders, watching the soft hum of a fish tank in the corner. The nurse called her name with a reassuring smile, and Davina followed, steadying her breath. The tests were swift. The wait afterwards was not. When the doctor finally re-entered the room, carrying a stack of images and a gravity in his expression that said more than words ever could, Davina sat a little straighter. She had done enough live evictions to recognize when news was about to land hard. Davina, he began softly, the results show early-stage breast cancer. There it was, the eviction she never saw coming. For a moment she didn't speak. Her mind flickered through timelines, filming commitments, her children's schedules, her mother's memory, the promises she had made to herself about health, resilience, and honesty. A tear hovered, but she blinked it away with the sharp precision of someone who had learned long ago that breakdowns were best saved for private moments. What happens next? She asked, voice surprisingly even. And so he explained, treatment options, prognosis, surgeries, recovery. Words she had heard before in documentaries and interviews, but never with her own name attached. She nodded, taking it all in. Somewhere deep inside, fear began to quiet. It wasn't gone, but it was no longer steering the ship. She told her children first. They gathered in the kitchen, half-finished mugs of tea steaming between them, the aroma of toast lingering in the air. Davina had always championed transparency at home, no secrets, no shame, so she shared everything with calm clarity. They cried, they hugged, they asked questions. She answered as best she could. The next call was harder. Her team wanted to postpone upcoming projects, but Davina refused to cancel everything. I'm still me, she insisted. I'm still working. I'm just dealing with something at the same time. But the question loomed, should she tell the public? Davina had built a career on connection. She had stood in front of millions and asked, who goes? You decide. Yet this, her diagnosis, wasn't a spectacle. It wasn't entertainment. It was personal, terrifying, intimate. But it was also an opportunity to speak truthfully about something that affected countless people. And if there was one thing Davina understood, it was the power of telling a story before fear could write it for you. So 1 week later, she sat on her sofa, hair tied back, wearing a simple jumper, a cup of chamomile tea untouched beside her. The camera on her phone was propped against a stack of books. No production crew. No professional lighting. Just her. She pressed record. Hi everyone. I've got something important to share, she began, voice steady, though her hands remained clenched in her lap. Last week, I found a lump. I went to get it checked straight away. And I've been diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. She paused, not for dramatic effect, but because reality still stung. I wasn't sure whether to go public, she continued, but if talking about this makes even one person check themselves sooner, then it's worth it. I want you to know that I'm okay. I'm scared, obviously, but I'm doing everything I need to do. I'm lucky we found it early. I'm surrounded by incredible people. And I'm determined to fight. She posted the video before she could talk herself out of it. Within minutes, her phone surged with messages, friends, co-presenters, former housemates, celebrities, fans. Words of love, support, encouragement, chants of Davina, you've got this. The type of messages usually reserved for a Big Brother finale. Later that night, as she scrolled through the overwhelming tide of kindness, she felt something she hadn't felt since the diagnosis: strength. Immense, unexpected strength. Treatment began quickly. Surgery was scheduled. The hospital became familiar. Nurses learned her humor. She arrived with her trademark optimism and a playlist of uplifting tracks. Even on the hardest days, when exhaustion clung to her bones, she forced herself to find a spark, sometimes small, sometimes tiny, but always there. Her illness didn't silence her. It grounded her. Davina documented parts of her journey, not all of it, just enough to remind others to check, to act, to advocate for their health. She spoke with candor, sometimes with laughter, sometimes through tears. Fans commented that she looked like the bravest version of herself. But Davina would shake her head softly and reply, "I'm just doing what needs to be done." 3 months later, she recorded another video. Same sofa, same stack of books propping the camera. "Hi again," she smiled. "I've got good news. Treatment's going well. My doctors are optimistic. And so am I." She took a breath. "Finding that lump saved my life." The comments began pouring in again, this time filled with relief, celebration, and shared stories from people who had booked their first check because of her. She leaned back afterwards, feeling lighter than she had in months. She had traveled through fear and come out carrying something valuable: connection, purpose, and a renewed sense of the fragility and resilience of life. Davina McCall, the woman who had spent years facilitating the exits of others, had faced her own eviction notice. But she hadn't been voted out. She had chosen to stay, loudly, brightly, bravely. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment and share.